everyone, welcome back to another Stitches and Scribbles video. Today we are continuing our TikTok inspired, Harry Styles inspired patchwork cardigan by learning how to do some basic Tunisian crochet stitches. So if you've been watching the series, you've seen this image before in my bullet journal of all of the squares to make and the entire plan for the sweater. So today we're going to focus on the simple Tunisian stitch and the honeycomb Tunisian stitch. These are my light blue squares in my diagram, and I will be making 10 simple Tunisian squares and 11 honeycomb Tunisian squares, as well as one simple Tunisian stitch triangle today. Just to show you what those look like, this is the simple Tunisian stitch. You can see it almost has like a waffle knit style stitching on the front, and on the back it almost looks like the reverse of a stockinette knit piece. I really like Tunisian crochet fabric. It's very thick, very durable, almost like double layered, which is super cool. And this is the honeycomb stitch, so you can see that those stitches make the little honeycomb patterns as you go up, but the back looks almost the same as on the simple Tunisian square. I can put both of those next to each other so that you can see the difference. Really, really pretty, very unique stitching style. You'll notice that just like the stockinette knit, the Tunisian stitch curls a lot. That won't be a problem once we sew everything together. And as always, if it bothers you, you can block your squares before you sew. The yarn I'm using for all of my Tunisian squares is the Feels Like Butter yarn from Lion Brand in the color Ice. So let's go ahead and get started. In my swatches, I marked that I start by chaining 28 and I'm going to do 23 rows for the simple Tunisian crochet. So you start with a slip knot. I'm going to get this journal out of the way so that we can see a little more clearly. Start with that slip knot, and we're going to be using a Tunisian crochet hook today. It is a 5mm hook. You can't see that, can you? 5mm hook. My label on it faded a little bit. That's interesting. But I used the same size Tunisian hook as I did for my regular crochet hook. Go ahead and slip that on. And just checking that stitch count again. We're going to do 28 chains. So have that on there. And chaining is just like you do for normal crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. So regular chain 28. Now we're going to start the part of this stitch style that's different from regular crochet. So Tunisian crochet, I think of it as like a halfway between crochet and knit. So it's going to look like we're knitting at some points, but it is still with just a crochet hook. On Tunisian crochet, you want to look for the little bumps in your stitches. So if you look at the front side of the chain, it almost looks like a braid. We're going to be working into the back side of the chain with those little stitches that show up in the middle of your stitches. This does mean that it helps if you chain a little bit loosely. So go ahead and insert your hook into that first back part of the stitch, yarn over, and draw up a loop. You're going to leave that loop on the hook. Then do the same in the next one. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. You're going to keep doing that through the length of the chain. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Do that all the way down. The first row is definitely the trickiest because inserting into those stitches can be a little bit challenging. Alright, and last stitch. So you should have something that looks like this. This is why I say it's kind of like halfway between knit and crochet, because at this point it really looks like you're knitting with all those stitches on your hook. But now we're going to do our return pass. So in Tunisian crochet, rows have two parts: the forward pass where you pick up all the stitches, and the return pass where you get them all off and pull through the middle. So we're going to start our return pass. To do a return pass, you yarn over and pull through 1, then yarn over, pull through 2. And you're going to repeat the yarn over, pull through 2 all the way to the end. And you should see those stitches start to slide off. And on your last pull through 2, you should have 1 left on your hook, like that. Now we're going to start our next return pass, and then all of the return pass, or not return pass, we're going to start our next forward pass. So when you do a forward pass, you should have the loop on your hook, and you'll see 1 bar right here at the beginning. We skip that bar because that's our edge, and the one on our hook counts as that stitch. But on the next one, so when you insert into a bar, there's actually 2 loops right there. You're going in between them so that you're just going through the first one. Yarn over, pull through, and draw up a loop. Continue that across. Insert under that facing forward bar, yarn over, pull up a loop. Insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. All the way across. This is why we get kind of that woven or waffle stitch. It's because of how those bars sit in front of your stitches. On the last one, you should see kind of a normal V-shaped crochet stitch on the end. You want to go through both so that you have that V on top and do your final yarn over pull through. Now our return pass is going to be exactly the same as before. You yarn over and pull through 1. You only pull through 1 on the first one. Then yarn over, pull through 2. all the way down. There you go. So then our next forward pass is going to work the same way as before. We skip the first one, insert into the bar, draw up a loop. Insert, draw up a loop. All the way across, just like we did before. So now that you've seen how to do a forward pass and a return pass, you're going to do 23 rows, and you can count rows by counting those vertical bar stitches on the front. And remember that a forward pass and a return pass together counts as one row. I'm going to do the rest of this square off camera and then show you what it looks like to finish off the square when I come back. Alright, so here is the square after row 23, but you can see that we still have those little gaps in the top, so we're going to do some regular single crochet as soon as my camera focuses to finish it off. So you have your one loop on the hook. You're going to insert into that bar, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two. So normal single crochet, we're just doing it through those bars all the way across to finish off the square. You could also do slip stitch here if you prefer. I just like the edging it makes if you do single crochet. And final stitch, and then we'll cut it to finish it off. There is your Tunisian simple stitch square. Very cool, very unique fabric, little bit of stretch to it but not a lot, and has a nice waffle knit texture. Alright, so for our honeycomb stitch, we're actually going to start the same way that we did for the Tunisian crochet, or Tunisian simple stitch. So you're going to do a slip knot. Oops, did mine backwards. Slip knot. There we go. And we're going to chain 28 again. Do it a little loose so we can find those stitches later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, whoops, 26, 27, and 28. We're going to pick up stitches the same way we did before by going into the backs of those stitches. The first one's always the toughest. Insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert, pull up a loop, I don't know if you can hear the plane that just went overhead, but I apologize for that. This yarn is just not working with me today. Last one. Alright, so our return pass is just going to be a basic return pass. Actually, all return passes for Tunisian crochet are the same. So yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2 the rest of the way. Alright, now we start our honeycomb stitch. So this is where we get some knitting terminology in Tunisian crochet. We already know the simple stitch, which is to insert into the bar, yarn over, and draw up a loop. Do that first. But now we're going to put the working yarn in front of the hook, then insert into the bar so that that yarn lays in front, then yarn over, draw up a loop. So you should see a horizontal bar that forms over the vertical bar. Then we do a normal simple stitch, put the yarn in front, insert into the bar, yarn over, pull through. We have that horizontal bar again. So you're going to alternate between Tunisian simple stitches and Tunisian purl stitches, which are those ones where the yarn makes the horizontal bar. We usually use purl to describe stitches in knitting, but we use them for Tunisian crochet as well. Then as you go, you should start seeing that pattern of the horizontal bar, then the vertical, horizontal, vertical. And that's what makes our honeycomb. Alternate those 2 stitches all the way down. Sometimes you gotta go back and check that you did the right one in the right place. It can get a little confusing. Alright, and for your last stitch, regardless of where you are in the pattern, we're going to do a normal, simple stitch. And again, just like in the regular one, make sure we're inserting so that we go under both of those loops so we get the nice chain stitch edging. Then do a normal return pass. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and repeat the pull through 2 all the way to the end. Now for row 2, you want to alternate so that you start with whatever stitch you didn't start with last time. So since I started my first row with a Tunisian simple stitch, I can see it because I have those 2 vertical bars in a row. Now I'm going to start with a purl stitch instead. So yarn in front, pull through, now do a simple stitch, and keep alternating. If you hear that guitar sound, that's me accidentally hitting my hook on my table tripod. So that's what that sound is, in case you were wondering. Oops, I just did one backwards. That one's supposed to be a simple stitch. And this is where you really start to see that honeycomb pattern emerging. If you're a knitter, this is almost like doing a moss stitch in knitting because of how you alternate the stitches. And in the last one, do a regular simple stitch through both, and then do a normal return pass. Alright, and keep continuing that honeycomb pattern. We're going to do 20 rows total for honeycombs, and you can count them by doing, let's look at the full one so that I can show you. So each little circle counts as 2 rows, but you can also count kind of alternating rows, if that makes any sense. So like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So if you kind of zigzag and count those circles, that's how you can count your honeycomb rows. I will see you after 20 rows and we'll do another bind off. Alright, and we're ready to finish off our honeycomb square. So we do this the same way that we did the simple Tunisian square, where we seal it off with a single crochet through all of those bars. I love the honeycomb stitch because it's the only Tunisian stitch I have found so far that lays relatively flat. I kind of want to make a whole sweater of just this stitch, not gonna lie. This pattern would be so pretty as a shawl and like a variegated yarn too. I might have to do that as well. Alright, and there's your finished honeycomb square. I'm going to cut that yarn off and pull through to finish it off. If you're wondering why I'm not weaving in the ends of my squares as I go, like you can see I have all those tails sticking out, it's because I want to weave them in once the sweater is completed so that I don't end up with any tails like sticking out the wrong side of the sweater. Like it doesn't matter as much for Tunisian stitches because there's obviously a right side and a wrong side, but for the crochet ones and some of the knit ones, the back and the front look the same, so I want to wait until the sweater is all put together before I do any weaving in of ends to make sure that they all are woven in on the inside of the sweater instead of the outside. But there's our honeycomb square. Now we're going to do the simple stitch triangle, and the only thing that's tricky about the triangles is if you do the whole cardigan in Tunisian crochet, you're going to have to do your 2 triangles differently with the decreases on 2 different sides, again because Tunisian crochet has a right side and a wrong side, and we don't have to deal with that with regular crochet. So my other one was done in regular crochet, which is reversible, so I don't need to worry about it as much. But if you were doing the whole sweater in Tunisian crochet squares, you're going to have to reverse some of the steps, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. We're going to start with the same number of chains that we've been doing this whole time, which is 28. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Now we're going to pick up our stitches for our first row as normal, so in through the back part of that stitch, yarn over, pull through one, insert, yarn over, pull through, all the way across. Alright, last one. And we're going to do a normal return pass for the first row. Alright, now we're going to start our forward pass doing everything almost as normal for simple stitch. So I'm just picking up stitches, I'm not doing any purls. We're going to go all the way across until we have 3 stitches left. Okay, so now I should have 2 bars left and the edge stitch. So I'm actually going to insert into both bars, pull one through, and then do the stitch on the edge. This is going to give us a decrease of 1 in this row. And then you do a normal return pass. You just have 1 fewer stitch. Like that, and you can already see it's starting to angle in on the other side. You're going to do each row exactly the same. If you are trying to do a triangle facing the other way, you would do your decrease in your first 2 stitches instead of the last ones, but otherwise it's exactly the same. So I'll show you one more row, pick up across until we get to the last 3 stitches or the last 2 bars. Alright, and I've got 2 bars left, so I'm going to insert into both of them and pull one through, and then do that final edge. And then do a normal return pass. And continue that pattern until you get to your final stitch. Alright, and once you reach your final stitch, you just cut your yarn and pull through that final loop, and there you have your very curly triangle. So if you do your decreases on the starting side, your triangle would go that way instead of the way that I have mine, because we obviously don't want the wrong side facing forward. I hope you enjoyed learning all of the basics of Tunisian crochet. I really love Tunisian crochet. I find it more like methodical and relaxing than some other stitches. Not quite sure why. Something about it is just very satisfying. I will see you in the next video, and sometime next month, the next step in the TikTok cardigan will be seaming squares together. So I'll show you my sewing method, and then the month after that we'll do the final edging and ribbing around the edges and stuff like that. So I will see you in the next one. Bye!